Hello everyone, this is Jeremy Lee here. Hope you're all doing very well. This is my initial post for my EDL 558 class, Module 3, starting up here. Hope you all have a very great Valentine's Day and a great weekend. I hope you all enjoying the cold weather we have outside right now. It's rather splendid. But without further ado, we're on Module 3. Module 3 is the Power, Privilege, and Marginalization second portion, and it consists of sexual orientation, gender identity, and expression of religion. I definitely enjoyed the reading for this week. I think that this was different because we always kind of focus a lot on racial privileges in the world and society today. I think it's nice to kind of, and we also kind of discuss a lot of sexual orientation privileges also, but it's kind of nice to get into gender and looking into other things that are not so black and white, no pun intended. So I definitely enjoyed the portion about privilege and religion. I always kind of found it fascinating that, well, growing up where I was, I think in my small town of Concord, North Carolina, it was kind of just accepted thought that you were going to be a Christian, and at that, you were going to be Baptist, Methodist, like one of the big denominations everyone kind of knew of. That was what you were. And so going to my undergrad institution, it was just kind of accepted out the world public school. Everyone believed in God, like the Christian God that was. So you had to say at football games, basketball games, they prayed. Like a preacher would come in and pray before the football game. Actually, one of the professors of divinity prayed, and we all knew the prayer because he did it together. It was what he did. Also, on top of that, like graduations, we prayed. Is what happened. So there was a very rare moment where we would recognize more than just a Christian God, because that's just what we did. And so coming here was already different because I noticed that we are more ambiguous when it comes to religion. A moment of silence means a moment of silence, not a moment of silence where someone's actually praying. So I think that's very different here, and I actually kind of welcome the change because I think that's something we have to embrace in higher ed. I think that we have to embrace the fact that we have students who come from all walks of life, and because of which they're going to have all kinds of religions they follow, and some may choose to not follow religion at all. So we have to learn how when we're advising our students, when we're encouraging our students, when we're being the administrators of our students, we have to keep in mind that we can't always run right to our personal religion, our faith, and base our judgment off of that because it really may not apply to them. It may not apply to how they live their lives. I think we have to kind of but we do need to use our own faith and realize that faith, of course, in development theory, we learn about Sharon Park's faith development theory, and we have to realize that their actual faith, it takes in the part of their religion, it takes in how they've kind of grown and matured, and use all that together to kind of know how to advise and mentor our students. As well as know what they're going through, kind of learn that process and learn what they're going through so we can achieve the social justice things we achieve for them. So I think this is a very interesting topic because after the things that happened this past couple of weeks with NC State and Chapel Hill, like now more than ever, we need to start having discussions about religion and what that plays in higher education. These kind of hate crimes exist and they happen all over the world, all over the country. And so it's very unfortunate that we have still had this conversation in 2015, but they're needing to be had. Or do you feel kind of around students regardless of what their religious base is? Are there still students who will see a Islamic student come in and he'll have like a turban around his head, and we get nervous initially because we see the student here. When we see young ladies who come across campus and they have their hair covered, how do we perceive that as students, and then what does that look like to us? What kind of treatment do they receive on our college campuses? Because there are times where we just treat them differently. I've seen it happen here. I will say that like I had one young lady come in, she was Islamic, and she came inside, she had her hair covered, and like the folks inside of Hawk Center looked at her like she was like a terrorist or a predator. I'm like, no, she's just a student who's hungry, so give her Chick-fil-A, please. So that's that kind of thing is something we have to embrace. I also enjoyed the portion about like reading about Native Americans and Japanese Americans and how they have had their fair share of disenfranchisement. I think that we have to realize that there are so many other forms of oppression, and we always discuss African American. Of course, I'm big on that because I am an African American male, but I think we have to keep in mind there are other groups who have been just as ostracized in America as others. I definitely learned a lot about the Japanese American issues back in the 40s. Of course, being a history major in undergrad, we learned about that. And of course, being a poli-sci major, we learned about Korematsu versus the United States of America when it happened with the deterrence. So I think we have to keep in mind how that plays, and also the fact that we've been privileged as Americans, and typically those who've always been here, even with discuss like Caucasian Americans, African Americans, we've known our issues always been present. I think unfortunately we have other races that come in, they receive just as much, if not more. I guess what was I looking for? They receive just as much, if not more, um, bigotry and I guess racism from them because of what they are, and they're not really the typical norm that you see around here. I know in the South, in my high school, we had one or two Asian kids, and because of which, like, they always kind of presumed to be the smart kids, or they were the kids that had the parents with a lot of money, or they're going to do something science-like. That's what they did. And I think we have to kind of dispel those things in higher ed and kind of get our students to be more embracive of everyone. So, also, real quickly on gender, I think I definitely enjoyed reading about the gender as well. That's not related to a lot because growing up with my mother, I was a single family home, so my mother raised me, my grandmother raised me as well, and I watched people think they could not raise two boys because, they were women and they couldn't help us be things, or listen to people say, your mother needs to teach you how to be a man, or she can't teach you how to be a man, and never know what that really meant. And growing up in my town, in my small community, at times that meant more. Of them trying to, I guess, tell me what the definition of manhood was, which for me really wasn't what I needed to hear as a young kid. So I definitely enjoyed that portion by kind of reading like how gender can, do some things with higher ed, how it can really, affect students as a whole. So this area is very interesting to me. I definitely enjoyed reading about it. It related to my student I'm working with for my social justice project. Working with this isn't working right now. A lot of them deal heavily with gender because the fact that because they have different sexuality, preferences that because of which, like, I think people often associate them with other genders. Case in point, like Connor's case, Connor being a homosexual student, so he told me a lot about how students often ask if he's the man or the woman relationship, or who's more masculine relationship. It's like, well, why can't I be just as masculine as my boyfriend is? Why can't I not be looked upon as a man or a woman? Why can't we both be men? That's what we are. And how people instantly like deem him to be less fitting for something because they think he's more feminine than other people, and that's not the case. So that was very interesting to kind of look at when I was kind of reading this topic. I was thinking about him and other students I've encountered here at UNCW. So that's kind of my thoughts on the week. I definitely enjoyed the readings. Like I said earlier, I kind of touched a little bit on religion as well as the other races of people who have been marginalized in the U.S., as well as a little bit about gender. So thank you all. I want to hear your thoughts. Take care and enjoy your Sunday evening.